Hello again. Thought I'd do a little update on my quail here. I'm going to set some eggs this morning. It's, I don't know, Thursday morning, getting ready to go to work, and I've been saving eggs up for about 5 or 6 days. You can save them for about a week, and got enough now. I need to get them set in the incubator, so I thought I'd do a quick update. So, anyway, a little bit about egg saving. I just save them in regular little chicken egg crates. I've got about 41, 42 eggs saved up here. Like I said, they after about 7-8 days they start to lose fertility. You do want to store them in conditions that are cool but not cold. So 55 to 60 degrees is about ideal. I'm trying kind of an experiment this time, so everybody that's watching will be able to kind of see how that works. What I've got is this little dorm fridge right here that was given to me. I set it as at the lowest setting, not the lowest temperature setting, but the lowest compressor setting that I could get. Measured it, it got down to about 50 degrees and held it at about 50 degrees. So, that was just almost off. I turned it all the way off and then just clicked it just as, barely on. So, I've been storing them in there for about 7 days, and I've got a couple of them that were just laid last night or this morning, so I expect those will hatch for sure, and we'll see about the other ones. So, anyway, the only other thing, when you're storing your eggs, you want to store them, they say pointy side down. You can see in my chicken egg crates, they don't really sit perfectly pointy side down, but what you do want to do is turn them every day, at least once. I do it twice a day. What I do is I set them in the fridge at an angle kind of like that, and then I just take the carton, turn it around every day, 2 or 3 times a day. So anyway, that's pretty simple. The other thing about incubators, this is a little giant incubator. Your incubator may be different. I'm not going to go into a whole lot on it, but do read the instructions. I suggest setting it up about a week and a half ahead of time, and kind of play with it a little bit and learn how to use it. This has got a temperature and humidity reading on it. Right now you can see it's at 99.5 degrees. You want to incubate. Set the incubator at 99.9 degrees. You'll see it kind of fluctuate a little bit between 98, 97 sometimes, up to 100. It's not that big a deal. So just don't really make big fluctuations in the temperature just because you come in and you see it at 99.3 like this is. This is at 71% humidity right now. There's little trays in the bottom of the incubator that you put some water in that they keep the humidity levels up. 71 is higher than I want to incubate, but it's the first day I'm putting them in, so it's not that big a deal. That humidity will start dropping here pretty quick. I want to keep the humidity level while they're incubating somewhere around 50-55% humidity, and then the last 2 or 3 days of incubation, I'll raise it back up to in the 67, 70%, somewhere right around in there is where I want it for the last day or two of incubation when they're getting ready to hatch. I've got an egg turner in here, an automatic egg turner, which I'll plug in once I get them set. If you don't have an egg turner, you need to turn the eggs at least once a day, probably 3 times a day would be best. Just mark one side with a magic marker or something, turn them, flip them over 2 or 3 times a day. You really, once you get your eggs set, you don't want to mess with your incubator any more than you have to. Like I said, if you have to turn them, you have to turn them. But other than that, with an automatic egg turner, I set them in there and I just leave it. I come and check it every couple of days. So anyway, let's go ahead and work on getting these set. What I'm going to do is just take the lid off the incubator. Oh, the other thing I'll say while I'm doing this is, you've got your eggs stored. You want to take them out of whatever cooler you have. Let them get up to room temperature about a day, 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours before you set them in the incubator. Okay, I've got the eggs set. Now what I'm going to do is take the it's all hung up here. Take the temperature sensor here on my incubator, and I'm going to lay it on top of the eggs right in the middle. It should lay down. There it is. And then simply close it back up. Plug my egg turner in right here. And, oh, sorry, getting all kinds of weird. there we go. The other thing I want to say about your incubator is you want to set it, oh, you can see how much the temperature dropped too, 78 degrees now. It'll pick back up, and we're already down to 54% humidity. That'll pick up a little bit too, but again, I want to kind of keep the humidity level around 55%, 50%, somewhere around in there, so I'll check that again here, every couple of days and make sure that it's not dropped too much. But anyhow, put your incubator in a place that's fairly consistent, free of drafts, fairly consistent temperature. Don't put it out in a drafty garage. I just keep it in my spare room that's my spare room where I incubate or start seeds. These are my tomato plants that are getting ready to go out in a week or two. Got some pepper plants up above, and I just set it right next to my grow racks, and then it works pretty well from here. So anyway, I'll we'll watch this for a couple of days, and I'll give you some updates as we go. Okay, eggs have been in the incubator about 4 days, and wanted to just kind of give you an update. Every day I kind of keep an eye on this and check it. You can see, if you can read that on there, humidity levels down to about 45%. It's a little too low. I want it up in the 50s, 55%. So I'm going to add some water, and what I'm going to do is just use a regular old turkey baster full of warm tap water. Don't use cold, but just warm water. There's some trays inside here. You might be able to see them numbered on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to add some water to a couple of these trays right here and see if that brings the humidity level up. So what I would suggest is that you just open it up, squeeze about half of that in there, half of that in that tray, and the other one. Don't get water on your eggs. It's a good time to check, make sure your temperature sensor is in the right place, and close it back up. You want to keep it open as little as possible. And don't make huge adjustments. Don't add bunches and bunches of water. Add this water. I'll check it again, 12 hours, maybe tomorrow morning. If it's not up as high as I want it, then I'll add a little bit more water. But it takes a little while for these readings to go. So anyway, take your time, go slow, make adjustments really slow, and give them time to take place. Alright, well, one more update on the quail eggs here. One thing I forgot to mention last time is it's a good idea to put maybe a piece of tape. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of dark over here in this corner, and I don't have real good lighting in here, but put a date on the incubator. I might just put a piece of masking tape on there and write the date. That way I know how long they've been incubating. Today is day 14, and what I need to do today is remove the egg turner. If you don't have an egg turner, stop turning the eggs on day 14. They're getting real close to hatching. They'll be hatching in a couple of days, between day 16 and day 18. So what I'm going to do is remove the egg turner. I've already unplugged it, so it's off and it's not running. And then I'm going to add some water to the incubator to get the get the humidity up. We've been incubating at about 50% humidity, 55%, somewhere around in there, and I want to bump it up to closer to like 75 and 80% for the last couple days, give them a little bit of assistance getting out of their eggs. So anyway, not much to watch here except for what I'm going to do is just take the lid off the incubator. I'll remove the egg turner with the eggs in it, and then I'm just going to set the eggs in there. And nothing special about how I do this necessarily. Okay, I've got all the eggs set now, and I'm going to add some water again with just a turkey baster here. Warm water, not cold water. Make sure you don't splash it on the eggs if you can help it. And again, when you're adding water, I'm going to add about a square out of the top, left a couple inches, put a piece of hardware cloth over it so they'd get plenty of ventilation in it. Just tied it down with some wire. If you can see, well, there it is. If you can see the wire in there, just kind of tied it down. What you're going to do to get your brooder ready is you need to get some kind of heat lamp, and this is probably a little too big of a heat lamp. I may have to change this bulb out because it's summertime, but anyway, some kind of heat lamp you might be able to get away with depending on the temperature of the area that you're keeping your brooder box in. You might be able to get away with just like a 60-watt bulb, but you need some kind of heat lamp. What I've got is just this. You can buy these at any Tractor Supply, farm supply store, any of those kinds of things. You need to get the brooder warmed up though. They need to be about 100 degrees. You need to get your water in there. What I use is just a standard mason jar chicken water. Again, you can buy it at any farm store. Put marbles in the base of the water, if you can see that. Marbles down there. That'll keep the chicks from falling in and drowning, and also give them some kind of peck at to kind of figure out where the water is. And then as far as a feeder goes, there's the feeder. Again, it's a mason jar chicken feeder. I don't put the mason jar on, I just fill it up with feed. It's the same feed I feed the adults. It's just a game bird starter crumble. The chicks figure it out and they eat just fine. One hint I would say is don't put your water too close to your feed, because you don't want them pooping in the water any more than they have to, and if you put it right next to your feeder, they're going to be standing in it basically when they're eating, and they'll make a mess. They're going to make a mess with that water anyway. You're going to have to change it out probably twice a day once they're in there. So anyway, that's pretty much all there is to getting the brooder set up, but you do want to do this early. Like I said, we're on the 14th day. I took the eggs out, I set them on the tray, or took them out of the egg turner, set them on the floor of the incubator, and then get my brooder ready so it can warm up. Careful with heat lamps. Don't get them too close to anything that's flammable or combustible. Also, put your heat lamp to they can have respiratory problems with that, but you also want to stay away from things like I wouldn't put sand in there. They might choke on that. Something that's fairly absorbent. Don't put newspaper. It's slick. They could fall and hurt themselves on it. Hurt their legs. Basically, you worry about feet problems and things like that. Other than that, setting up a brooder is pretty simple. Alright, well, as promised, I am giving an update as the eggs start hatching. It is day 16, and this is why you want to get your brooder box ready on day 14, because we're only 16 days in, and I know this is going to be hard to see. I don't have a lot of light over in this corner, but you can see one little quail chick out of the shell there, and it looks like there's another one over here, right there. Now, don't rush in and just pop this thing open. Leave it closed. Leave them in there until they start looking fluffy, and you'll know what that means. They can stay up to 24 hours, but there's going to be quite a few more quail probably hatching out, so it'll probably be sometime tomorrow. It's evening, it's afternoon, evening, 5 o'clock I think right now. It'll be probably sometime tomorrow before I open this up and take them out. Alright, well, it's the next morning, and I've got about, I don't know, 3 or 4 more. I got 5 total that I hatched out total overnight, and they're dried off. They're looking a little fluffy, so I totally expect more to hatch, but this is a good time. It's about noon, 12:30, so this is a good time to go ahead and get the group that's already hatched out, since they're all dried up, they're all fluffy. Get them out and get them in the brooder, and then I'll close the incubator back up, and I'll wait for the rest to hatch and see if they do. What I've got is just a little bucket here that I'm going to put them in. I put a little bit of bedding in the bottom of it. I'm going to open this incubator up, gather them up, put them in the little bucket just about as quick as I can, and then move them out to the breeders. So kind of let you watch that whole process. So, and they're tiny, 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 so you got to be careful. They like to jump. Get a little freaked out. Looks like we got a couple little speckled ones here. This little yellow one I pulled out there, he should be a white one. Come here, guys. Come here. Relax. There you go. There you go. There you go. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to take these guys out, put them in the brooder so they stay warm. You can see there they are, all hopping around in the little bucket. And as the rest hatch out, again, I'll give them time to dry off and fluff up, and take them out in small groups and put them in the brooder. And that's about all there is to it. From there on out, it's just leave them in the brooder for a while. I might do some videos on what you do when moving them from the brooder, and how to brood them all. But this is pretty much all you got to do to incubate your chicks. Like I said, I'll leave those eggs in there for another 2 days and see how many more hatch out, because it's only the 17th day right now. So I go till about the 19th day before I give up on the eggs and throw out what hasn't hatched out. So anyway, I'm going to close this video out real quick, get these guys to the brooder so they stay warm. And thanks again for watching. Hopefully you learned a few things, and if there's any questions, any comments, please feel free to leave them. I look forward to them.